record high levels of inventory in townhouses, and North Surrey condos are absolutely getting crushed right now. Surrey real estate is changing yet again, and I have not done an in-depth stats video here on the channel since like back in July. So we're going to look at exactly what's gone on since July in the Surrey marketplace in detached homes, townhouses, and condos. So hopefully if I can figure out how to do it, it's timestamped down below. But if you're new to the channel, really quick, my name is Steve. I'm a real estate agent here in the city of Surrey, in the lower mainland of British Columbia. And this is my real estate YouTube channel. So please subscribe, click the like button if you like being up to date on the market, and then know if indeed you do need help in real estate in my marketplace. You can book a call with me right now using the link in the description below. No further ado, let's start off with the detached market. Now, let me break down exactly what you are looking at. South Surrey, which for this metric does include the city of White Rock as well, is the green line. North Surrey is the blue line. Surrey, which is kind of the middle section of Surrey, but only the middle to the west side of the city. That's Surrey. And then Cloverdale is the east end of the city, starting off with detached home prices, or the HPI. You'll see that obviously we are continuing down the slide here. I've given reference and done this on the 3-year cycle here, so you can just kind of see back to when the peak of the market was compared to where we are now. So we did see the peak of the market. We slid down, like it was really, really bad. People don't remember how bad the end of 2022 really was. And then we kind of had, if you want to use that term, dead cat bounce. It did come back, and it's actually done that. We kind of have a seasonal pricing, but the overall trend since August of 2023 in detached pricing across all areas, I mean, it's down. It's obviously down. Look at South Surrey White Rock now. On a year-over-year basis, the detached homes are down 8.1%. So they're kind of taking the heaviest hit, even on a percentage basis. And they are also the highest price point, which is kind of crazy. Cloverdale's holding out not too bad at -4% year over year. And then Surrey and North Surrey, which are very actually similar markets for the most part. You've got kind of Surrey, Newton, Panorama, kind of that whole area in Surrey. And then North Surrey would be Guildford, Boulevard Heights, Whalley, all of that. So they are kind of tied in how fast they are dropping. Very, very similar markets. I'm going to show you now median price and why I don't like to use it. Median price is so jumpy. It just really doesn't reflect of what's going on in the marketplace at any given time, because nobody thinks that, let's say, for instance, South Surrey White Rock went up $175,000 last month. It was just that the median changed. Average price, again, why I don't like to use it. I mean, if you look at average price, Cloverdale is actually not doing too bad. It's actually been quite flat. Same with North Surrey, and trust me, that is not the case out there. Again, this is detached. One of the things that we're seeing, maybe I can scale out on this a little bit for you, is just this is now the number of sales. So we came off of this craziness that maybe a lot of people thought was a regular market that never was a regular market back in 21 and 22. And now we are seeing really, really low sales numbers. Like actual amount of inventory out there is high, which we're going to see, but the amount of transactions happening is at very, very low levels. For instance, in North Surrey last month, in the detached marketplace, there was only 33 sales. New listings coming to the market. Let's go back there so you can see that. Only 33 sales. New listings coming to the market were 125. In the same area, again, I'm talking about North Surrey, the blue line, and active listings, 419. So you have less than 10% of homes in North Surrey selling. But if you actually, let's zoom in here a little bit closer. We kind of did see that kind of summer slowdown, which we haven't seen in many, many years. June was the peak, and then the market did dip, particularly here in South Surrey. And then we have now seen in Surrey and in South Surrey kind of that seasonal, I guess you would call it recovery. You should have more sales in October than you had in September, and you should have more sales in September than you did in August. That's proving true for some areas and not for others. Again, I'm going to switch back here to new listings or new inventory coming to the market. We should expect that this will trend down for the rest of the year. Not a lot of people will be looking to bring their properties on the market here now in November, and then obviously through December. A lot of people are going to start to wait for the new year, and that's going to reflect, if I scale back out on active listings. Now, actually, I'm going to scale back even farther on active listings to find a time where we had as much inventory back then as we do right now. For instance, in the Surrey area and, well, White Rock, we actually had kind of just as much inventory in that marketplace, this green line here, as recently as like 2019. But the city of Surrey itself hasn't had this much inventory since 2014. If I look back also at North Surrey, North Surrey hasn't had this much inventory since like May of 2010. And Cloverdale, Cloverdale's gone through its hits and misses. I'm going to say likely we're also back to kind of 2014 numbers. So realistically, if we're looking at these numbers as a whole, we are sitting at active listings on the market at basically 10 and 11-year highs across most of the city of Surrey. So that's really what's caused such a slowdown in feeling exactly what the market's doing. That is reflected in month supply. So now we've got very low sales, we've got very high active listings. That puts us in a spot where we are in very heavy months of inventory. South Surrey is now 12.2 months of supply. Surrey itself, 13.8 is kind of the worst number. And then North Surrey just thankfully crested out of the 13 months of supply. What that means is like a buyer's market, when prices start going down, buyer's market is when about 1 in every 6 or 7 homes per month sells. Well, of those 3 categories, now we're double a buyer's market. We are 6 to 7 times 2. We're very steadily 12 to 14 months supply in South Surrey, Surrey, and North Surrey. Thankfully, it appears that Cloverdale is kind of doing okay. They are only now creeping into around buyer market territory. There's a very specific reason for that. Cloverdale is a very family-friendly area. It's also a lot of the newer property, not a lot of investor product there. So you have more people looking to purchase in Cloverdale, I find, than, say, for instance, North Surrey, where the neighborhoods may not be as good. Sales to active ratio is just kind of exactly this same thing, just in a percentage basis rather than a months of inventory basis. So that's why you see Cloverdale's doing so well. Basically, it's saying in North Surrey, only 8% of the homes are selling. In Surrey, just over 8%. South Surrey, White Rock, almost 10%. And then you're almost up at 17% in Cloverdale. So that's what gives you those numbers. Now, this is super interesting. Percentage of original list price average. So this means of the original list price, how much do the homes end up selling for? Well, you're going to see South Surrey White Rock is sitting at 92.9%, which is extremely low. But this is, again, not including any price reductions. And I will say, when you get into South Surrey White Rock and the average home is like $2, $3, $4 million sometimes that you're seeing listed anyway, not sold, but listed, you will see larger drops. I think this is pretty common with any larger piece of property. People will expect that maybe if you have a $3 million home, you might come down $200,000 or $300,000. But if you have a $1.4 million home, are you going to come down $140,000? No, it's not going to happen. Though the stat I like a little bit better is percentage of list price when it actually sells. So now this accounts for not just what the seller wanted originally, but this now accounts for the actual list price versus where the offers get accepted. And these numbers are actually quite low for historical means, as you can see, we are also trending downwards. I mean, let's go back to the peak here where the average property was selling across North Surrey, for instance, 111% of asking, Cloverdale 100, almost 113% of asking, which is nuts. But you'll notice this is trending downwards. And in most of these areas, by the time the properties actually sell, Surrey's sitting at 97%, Cloverdale's right there with them, and then North Surrey and South Surrey, you're negotiating upwards of 4% off the asking price for the average sale. That's actually kind of crazy. But again, this is only detached. So remember that. I'm not going to look at price per square foot because houses vary, detached houses vary so greatly. And then kind of the big story here, obviously, is days on market are starting to creep up. You will see that happen in the winter, right? For instance, here in 2024, you had days on market. January, was kind of the high point. January again was the high point. August was the high point in 2022, but I guess that makes sense until, of course, January of 23. So we will expect days on market to go up because there's just less activity happening at this point in the marketplace. Switching now over to HPI and townhomes. What sticks out to me here is look at this sharp decrease in both South Surrey townhomes and North Surrey townhomes, particularly over the last month. You had North Surrey go from 742 down to 710. So you saw like a massive reduction, 10.5% year over year. And I'm seeing that myself right now. We had to list a property at an absolute steal in North Surrey. Luckily, it worked out. There's good value there, but compared to where it was just last year, the seller would have been much better off last year. Time didn't work out for him to sell last year, but it is what it is. And then Cloverdale and kind of the central part of Surrey doing a little bit better, I guess you would say, last month. However, year over year, we're still down 6.6% in Surrey and 4%. I'm going to skip over median because, again, this is why. Maybe I won't skip over it. I'm going to emphasize it. This graph right here shows us why median and why average is just no good. They're just way too jumpy. They don't account for market trends. Everyone would agree with me, I think, right now that this is what the market is doing in HPI, and it's not doing this crazy high jumps up and down. As far as number of sales, now this is interesting. Let's zoom in a little. Look at the amount of sales that we're having in September and then October. We have not had this busy of a month, particularly here in Surrey. And then again, well, I guess we did it in South Surrey. Cloverdale, not so much. But this number right here shows me it's not a lot of sales. I mean, it's 82 sales. It's not that bad. But we haven't been that busy in a year. So it shows me that people are starting to move again. And they're starting to move a little bit more in a more affordable product, I guess you would say. It's actually increased year over year, the amount of sales happening within kind of that center area of Surrey. Obviously, we saw a big shoot up here, but these numbers are going to be lower. August should be kind of the lowest of the summer as well. New listings coming to the market in each one of those areas, obviously starting to trend down, except for North Surrey saw a little bit of an uptick. Active listings on the market. Now I'm going to zoom out so we can check this out because we did it for detached as well. Look at the amount. You actually had more sales, but you had way more listings in kind of that center Surrey section. Can I even find a time where we had so many townhouses? No. I guess that's kind of the story here right now. We have never had a spot where there are so many townhouses available, particularly around the center part of Surrey. Cloverdale, there's been a lot more. Look at that. South Surrey as well. Record high levels of inventory in townhouses. North Surrey not doing so bad. Let's scale back in. Take a look at month supply. Month supply is not terrible. The reason it's not terrible, like they're in buyer's market conditions, not in Cloverdale, they're actually quite balanced. In South Surrey, Surrey, and North Surrey, we are in buyer's market conditions. That's because, again, these are more affordable family style products. And we haven't seen a market like this in those areas, particularly Surrey and North Surrey, and maybe even South Surrey for that matter, since like June of 2013. It was a tough time in the market. Prices were coming back, and down, back then they were coming down, and we're not in that dissimilar of a market right now. However, you are going to start to hopefully see that decrease. I don't think we're heading back into a heavy uh, buyer's market in townhouses. There's just nothing to suggest that, because that's where people actually can get 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a garage, and somewhat of affordable housing, if you want to call it that. Again, sales to actives is just uh, the same equation, just in a percentage. Percentage of original asking price. You'll notice these are a lot tighter numbers as well than the detached. Detached is a higher price point. They also have much higher months of inventory. So in the detached market, when we had 12 and 13 and 14 months, you're going to see negotiations a lot further down, I guess, or larger negotiations happening. All of these are within, it looks like, basically 3%. I guess there's one just outside of at about 4%. And then the actual percentage compared to, can I zoom in on this? The actual percentage compared to current asking price, you're selling within 2.5%, right? So this is where townhouse purchasers, I just did a video on this last week. Townhouse purchasers are making a mistake because they think they can negotiate more off of the asking price than they actually can. Price per square foot kind of matters in townhouses, I guess. But generally speaking, you're going to see that it's a pretty jumpy number as well. It is trending down, as we would expect. And days on market, it's a jumpy number because it's seasonal. But let's face it, if you look at this since, let's go here, since March of 2025, just this year, I'm going to say, even if you actually look at the overall trend line, let's say since April of 24, the overall trend is that, well, days on market, or the amount of time it takes a property to sell, it's definitely going up. And lastly, but not leastly, maybe leastly, condos. Let's talk condos, because North Surrey condos are absolutely getting crushed right now. There's just too many of them, and you're going to see what I mean by that. There's too many of them available. They seemingly overbuilt the Wally area in particular with micro units, and it's coming back to hurt people. So let's take a look at this real quick. South Surrey, yeah, it's trending down. Cloverdale, yes, I'm an owner of a condo in Cloverdale. It's also trending down. The kind of middle part of Surrey there, the red line, is actually fairly flat, but also trending down. But take a look at North Surrey, and this is particularly driven by Wally. We are now at lower prices in Wally at $439 for benchmark price than at any other point within the last 3 years. Let's head out to the 10-year and take a look at the last time we were at $439 in Wally. $460 was kind of after the big crash. We are now back to October 2021 prices. We have wiped out prices over the last 4 years in the North Surrey area. I'm not going to zoom in just on Wally and pick on it itself, but let's face it, that's what's drawing that price point down for that blue line. Median price, again, I'm not going to focus on these because they stink. Prove me wrong in the comments if you don't believe me. And then we're going to look at overall amount of sales. It's funny, North Surrey's hurting, but their sales actually started trending back up ever so slightly. Cloverdale, seeing some more sales year over year. South Surrey White Rock is really the condo market that seems to be taking the hit on the number of sales. It's down 31% year over year, and Surrey is down 27%. I like scaling out on these condos to try and show you what's gone on, and look at just the wild ride of sales that's gone on in the condo market over the last few years, last 10 years. New listings is starting to trend down, particularly in North Surrey. I'm seeing this. Not only is it a seasonal thing, but there's a lot of people that just realize they're not going to get their money in those North Surrey condos anymore. And it's actually Surrey that's trending upwards here since, let's say they've been trending upwards, well, basically for the whole year, as has Cloverdale. That's amount of new listings hitting the marketplace. Now, active listings on the market. This I really want to scale out on. Now, I don't know what this anomaly is back here in 2025, where they had a bunch of product come to the market for like 2 or 3 months. But I mean, if you exclude that, whatever that was, sorry, not 2025, 2005, if you exclude that, we are at like record highs in North Surrey. And not only are we at record highs, we're almost at double record highs. South Surrey, White Rock, we've seen this before. Surrey, this kind of central part of Surrey there, we've seen it before. And Cloverdale, there's not that many condos out there, but again, we've seen it before. But it's this North Surrey condo kind of marketplace that's just absolutely flooded, and that's going to cause prices to come down. Months of inventory or the consumption rate, it's actually not North Surrey that's doing the worst. Look at this. We saw an uptick, or I guess a downtick in sales and an increase in listings, proving that Surrey itself is actually the center part of Surrey is doing the worst at 11 months of supply. North Surrey is not doing great. They're still in heavy buyer market territory at 8.9. And then thankfully, South Surrey and White Rock, even though they do have close to record numbers for their particular areas, their consumption rate isn't that bad. I'll skip over that number again, just written in a percentage. Percentage of original. Let's scale in on this so you can see. This is actually surprising to me. Maybe not. We'll see if it's surprising when we get to percentage of list price, but this is percentage of original list price. I guess what this is showing to me is there has been price reductions. You're seeing them being listed at a higher amount and then having to come down upwards of 3 to 4% in order to actually sell. This makes a lot more sense to me. Isn't it funny how these numbers are 97, 97.3, 97.4, and 97.4 on percentage of list price? So basically they're saying across the entire city of Surrey, you're negotiating 2.5% off of the condos that actually sell. So in your mind, if you're a buyer, you can take that number and you can say, listen, if this offer or this listing that I'm interested in is listed more than 2.5% above what I want to pay for it, I'm probably not going to get it. Now, of course, that's an average. Price per square foot matters a whole lot more in condos, but again, it's jumpy as well. When we zoom out, you'll see that it's obviously trending down and has been trending down since about August of 23. And then we're going to zoom back in and go days on market. And you're seeing that general uptrend again since March of 22. I mean, there's been seasonally adjusted stuff. Again, you get into the Januaries and Decembers and they'll be at highs, but we are seeing days on market coming off of like 12 and 13 day averages, now up over a month. Really 40, it looks about 38 days across the entire city is going to be the average for how long it takes you to sell your condo. So my recap of all this is basically saying, yes, prices are continuing to trend down. The seasonal, I guess what you would call it, a trend of properties coming off of the market, either selling or just coming off of the market where they may come back to the market next year, is definitely happening. And thankfully, the months of inventory in a lot of places actually not as bad as it has been over the past. But if you find yourself in this marketplace right now, in any of these that we've gone over, it's not great news. It's not easy to get sold. So if you do find yourself needing help trying to get sold, or if you're looking to take advantage of what's going on out there in the marketplace as a buyer, because there are deals out there for you right now, you can book a call with me right now using the link in the description below. And if you want to learn more about that big mistake that I saw townhouse buyers making this month, check out this video before you go.